Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to really get into Clause 7 of ISO IEC 27000 3.2017.
Yeah, this is a big one.
It really is. Think of this as well like an instruction session. We're going to be your guides, breaking down those essential support elements that, make an information security and management system, the ISMS, actually function properly.
That's spot on. Clause 7 is like all about the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
It's what lets an ISMS move from just being paper to being effective in the real world.
Right.
It covers the resources, the competence,
Yeah.
the skills, making sure people are aware, good communication, and all that documented information.
The paperwork bit, yeah, but essential paperwork.
Absolutely essential. It really is the foundation. Everything else kind of builds on this.
And hopefully by the end of the session, you listening will have a really clear picture of what's needed, not just to set up an ISMS, but crucially to keep it strong, keep it adapting. We're building this up like piece by piece.
Exactly. So our mission today, we're acting as your instructors. We'll walk you through each subclause of Clause 7 one by one. Explain the core ideas, clarify what they mean practically.
Okay, sounds good. Let's kick things off with 7.1, resources.
Okay.
So the core idea here is that the organization that's you needs to figure out what resources are needed and then actually provide them for setting up, implementing, maintaining, and importantly, continually improving the ISMS.
It sounds basic, but it's fundamental. You need stuff to do stuff.
Hey, yeah, basically, like trying to build that table without all the tools, as I said before the recording. You just can't.
It's a perfect analogy. Resources are absolutely key, and the standard breaks it down into 5 main categories you need to consider.
Okay, what are they?
First up, people. Persons, as the standard puts it. The individuals actually driving and operating the ISMS activities.
Makes sense. You need bodies on the ground.
Then, time. You need enough time to actually perform the tasks, but also, interestingly, time for the results to, like, settle in and take effect.
Yeah.
Change takes time.
That's a good point. Not just doing, but letting it work. Okay, what's next?
Financial resources. The budget, basically, for buying things, developing systems, implementing controls, training, all that costs money.
Yep. The bottom line always matters.
Then, information. Not just the documented stuff we'll get to later, but the information needed to make good decisions, measure how things are going, and improve your knowledge base.
So intelligence for your security operations.
You could put it that way, yeah. And the 5th one is infrastructure and other means. This is quite broad.
Okay.
It's your tech, your tools, materials, IT systems, non-IT systems, even buildings, potentially. Everything that supports the ISMS.
The whole environment, really. Okay, so those are the types of resources. How does the standard say we should manage them?
Well, it gives some pretty clear guidance. 5 steps, essentially. First, estimate what you need. Quantity and quality, so how many people, how much budget, but also what specific skills or capabilities are required.
Right, not just numbers, but the right numbers and the right skills.
Exactly. Step 2, acquire those resources. Go get them.
Seems logical.
Step 3, provide them. Make sure they're actually available to the ISMS processes and the people who need them.
So it's no good having a tool if it's locked away or no one knows how to use it.
Precisely. Step 4 is maintain the resources. It's an ongoing thing. Keep the tools updated, keep people trained, make sure the budget is still there next year.
Constant vigilance.
And the final step, number 5, is review. Regularly check if the resources you have still match what the ISMS needs. Things change, threats evolve, so your resources might need adjusting.
It's that continuous improvement loop again. Assess, adapt.
Exactly. And the key takeaway here really is you can have the best policies, the most brilliant security strategy, but without the right people, time, money, info, and tools, those 5 categories, it just won't work effectively. It stays theoretical.
That's so true. We get caught up in the tech sometimes, but the fundamentals, the resources have to be there. So, for you listening, maybe pause and think. In your world, what are the key resources you really need in each of those areas?
Good prompt. Okay, shall we move to 7.2? Competence.
Yeah, let's do it. Competence. So what's the core requirement here?
It's about the organization determining the competence needed for people whose work affects information security performance, and then making sure those people are competent.
Okay, so defining competence first. It's more than just qualifications, right?
Oh, definitely. The standard explains it as the ability to apply knowledge and skills to get the results you want. It's influenced by, yes, knowledge, but also experience, and even wisdom or good judgment.
Applying knowledge in practice.
Exactly. And it applies to everyone working under the organization's control, employees, contractors, temps, Anyone whose work impacts security.
And it could be specific technical skills or more general abilities.
Yep. You might need deep crypto knowledge for one role, but strong communication skills for another who has to explain security policies. Both are forms of competence.
So how do organizations get this competence? Do they grow it or buy it?
Both, really. The standard mentions internal routes, like on-the-job experience, specific training, mentoring program.
Learning from within?
Right. Or external routes, hiring people who already have the skills, or bringing in external consultants or contractors for specific needs.
Okay, so you identify the need, then you either train up or hire in. What about managing it ongoing?
Again, there's a helpful 5-step process outlined. First, figure out and document the expected competence for each ISMS-related role. What does good look like?
Define the target. Got it.
Second, assign roles to competent people. This involves looking internally first who already fits the bill,
Right.
or planning actions to develop competence in existing staff, maybe training, mentoring, or even just reassigning tasks to give them experience.
Developing your own talent.
Or, if needed, engaging new competent people hiring or contracting.
Okay, so match people to roles, developing or recruiting as needed. What's step 3?
Evaluate the effectiveness of those actions. Did the training actually work? Is the new hire performing well? Did the mentoring make a difference?
Don't just train. Check if the training achieved the goal.
Exactly. Step 4 is to verify competence. Actually confirm that people are competent for their roles, maybe through assessments, performance reviews, checking certifications.
Proof points.
And finally, step 5, ensure competence evolves. The threat landscape changes, technology changes, so skills need updating. It's not static.
Continuous learning for security folks. Makes sense. And documentation comes in here too.
Yep, you need documented information as evidence of competence. Records showing what competence is needed for roles and how people meet those needs, training certs, job histories, performance notes, that kind of thing.
Okay. So for you listening, the question becomes, do you really know what skills you need in your team? And how do you ensure you have them and keep them sharp?
Good questions. Right, moving on to 7.3, awareness.
Awareness. This feels closely linked to competence, but it's different.
It is different, yeah. The requirement here is that people doing work under the organization's control need to be aware of several key things.
Okay, like what?
The information security policy itself, how their own work contributes to the ISMS's effectiveness, the benefits of improved security performance.
So the why behind it all.
Exactly. And crucially, the implications of not conforming to ISMS requirements. What happens if they mess up or ignore the rules?
The stick as well as the carrot. Understanding consequences.
You got it. Awareness is about having the necessary understanding, yes, but also the motivation. Supporting policy goals, following the rules and daily tasks.
Why is highlighting the negative consequences, the implications of nonconformance, so important?
Because it makes it real. People need to grasp that not following a procedure isn't just ticking a box wrong. It could lead to a real security incident, maybe a data breach.
With real costs to the business.
And potentially, depending on the situation, real repercussions for them personally. It focuses the mind.
Makes sense. So, does everyone need to know the policy inside out?
Not necessarily the whole detailed policy, no. But they absolutely need to be aware it exists, where to find it if needed, and they must understand the specific objectives and requirements relevant to their own job.
The bits that apply to them day to day.
Exactly. Often these are baked into procedures or work instructions they use anyway.
Okay. So how do you build this awareness effectively? Any guidance?
Yes. 5 recommended actions here. First, prepare an awareness program with messages tailored for different audiences.
Not one size fits all.
Definitely not. What the finance team needs to know is different from IT support or senior management. Maybe even tailor for external partners if relevant.
Good point. What else?
Second, try to integrate security awareness into other training or comms. Don't always make it a standalone thing. Weave it into onboarding, IT updates, project kickoffs. Give it context.
Make it part of the normal workflow.
Right. Third, have a plan for communicating these messages regularly. Planned intervals. Keep it top of mind. Like safety briefings.
Not just a once-a-year thing that everyone forgets.
Please no. Fourth, verify understanding. At the end of a session, maybe a quick quiz or discussion, but also check periodically, randomly ask people, see if the message stuck.
Check for retention and comprehension.
And fifth, verify if people are actually acting on the messages. Observe behavior. Use examples of good practice and carefully examples of where things went wrong to reinforce the messages.
Link awareness to actual behavior.
That's the goal. And again, Documented information is needed to the extent the organization thinks is necessary to show the awareness activities are happening and are effective.
Okay, so for you listening, how well are security messages really landing in your organization? Does everyone get their role and the risks?
Important reflection. Okay, next up, 7.4, communication.
Communication seems obvious, but critical for any system.
Absolutely critical. The core requirement is for the organization to figure out its needs for both internal and external communication related to the ISMS.
So thinking about who needs to know what, when, and how, both inside and outside the company walls?
Precisely. And it's a process. It can be between different levels internally, management to staff, team to team, or with external parties, customers, suppliers, regulators.
Yeah.
And it can be initiated by either side.
It's a two-way street, not just broadcasting announcements.
Definitely. The standard says you need to determine 5 key things about your communication.
Okay, what are they?
First, what needs to be communicated? Content. Policies, objectives, changes, risks, supplier stuff, feedback received.
Yeah.
Lots of possibilities.
Being clear on the message itself.
Second, when should it be communicated? Timing. Is it urgent, like an incident, or routine, like a monthly update?
Timing can be everything in security.
Absolutely. Third, who is involved? Who are the communicators and who is the target audience for each type of communication?
Tailoring the audience again, you wouldn't CC the entire company on a detailed forensic report.
Oh, why not? Fourth, who initiates the communication? Who's responsible for kicking off specific comms? Establishes ownership.
Avoids things falling through the cracks.
And fifth, which processes drive or are affected by the communication? Linking communication to things like change management, incident response, supplier management.
Seeing communication as part of those other processes.
Exactly. Effective communication needs defined processes, channels, protocols, making sure the message gets there, is understood, and, if needed, acted upon.
The standard gives examples of content, right?
Yeah, things like risk assessment results, progress towards objectives, incident details, roles and responsibilities, plan changes, external requests. It's quite comprehensive.
And it also gets specific about requirements for communicating on key issues.
It does. Things like who's authorized to speak for the org, especially externally in a crisis, what triggers certain comms, what must be included in messages to key parties, who receives what methods to use, email, alert, meeting, and how do you ensure receipt and understanding.
So it's about having a planned, structured approach, especially for important or sensitive comms.
You've got it. And predictably, documented information is needed as determined by the organization. Maybe communication plans, contact lists, protocol.
Right. So listener reflection time again. How well does security information really flow in your organization? Are the right conversations happening effectively?
Good question to ponder.
Okay.
Last section of Clause 7, 7.5. Documented information. This is a bit chunkier.
Ah, yes. The documentation, everyone's favorite topic. But seriously, it underpins everything, doesn't it?
It really does. So 7.5.1 is the general part. It says, your ISMS documentation must include what ISO IEC 27001 specifically requires.
There's mandatory stuff.
Right. Plus any other documented information the organization decides is necessary for the ISMS to be effective.
So it's tailored, not just minimum compliance, but what actually helps your ISMS work well. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, it's anything that defines or records your ISMS. Objectives, policies, guidelines, procedures, controls, responsibilities, and crucially, records of actions taken and results achieved.
Evidence.
Exactly. It's vital for audits, for consistency when people change roles, for capturing how things should be done, your institutional memory, as you put it earlier.
Right. And the amount can vary.
Yeah, the standard notes the extent of documented information can differ based on the organization's size, complexity, the competence of people. A small startup might have less formal docs than a huge bank.
Makes sense. But you still need what's necessary for effectiveness. Any examples of this additional necessary info?
Lots of examples given. Things like results of understanding your context, defined roles, risk management reports, resource plans, competence records, awareness plans and results, communication records, external documents you rely on, procedures for controls, specific policies, action plans, evidence that processes are working.
Wow. Okay. It touches pretty much everything we've already discussed.
It does. And it can be internal stuff you create or external docs you need to manage like regulations or supplier agreements.
Okay. So that's the what. What about 7.5.2, creating and updating?
This is about how you create and maintain those documents. You need appropriate identification and description like a title, date, author, version number.
So you know what you're looking at.
Exactly. You need appropriate format and media, Is it a Word doc, a web page, a database record? Where is it stored?
Practical considerations.
And crucially, you need review and approval processes. Management needs to sign off that the information is correct, suitable, and adequate before it's issued.
Quality control for documents.
Pretty much. And regular reviews to make sure they stay current and useful.
So how should orgs approach this practically?
Well, the guidance suggests thinking about a structured library or system, maybe using standard templates for consistency, defining who can draft, review, approve, having clear version control.
Good document management hygiene.
That's a good way to put it. Think about common attributes for easy searching. Tailor the language to the audience. Avoid duplication, use cross-references. And ensure changes are reviewed and approved promptly.
Keep it organized, clear, and current. Got it. What about the last part, 7.5.3, control?
Right, so once a document is created and approved, you need to control it. This means making sure it's available where and when it's needed.
Accessible.
Yes, but also protected. You need to ensure its confidentiality, if needed, integrity, so it can't be changed improperly, and availability. Classification helps here, marking documents based on sensitivity.
So sensitive stuff gets tighter controls.
Exactly. Use access controls, have a change management process so only authorized changes happen and people are notified. Know who needs each document and how they'll get it distribution.
Manage the life cycle.
Precisely. Establish retention periods. How long do you keep it? Ensure it stays legible. Define what happens at the end of its life archive or destroy securely. And don't forget about controlling external documents too, like those supplier contracts or standards.
It's cradle-to-grave management for important information.
That's it. So the final reflection for you listening. How well does your organization manage its documented information? Is it easy to find, reliable, protected, and managed throughout its life cycle?
That's a lot to think about under 7.5. Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive on Clause 7, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information.
These 5 elements really are the essential pillars, the support structure for a functioning ISMS.
Absolutely. If you get these right, you're building on a really solid foundation. It enables everything else you do in information security.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? For your own organization, which of these pillars feels the strongest right now? And maybe more importantly, which one needs a bit more attention, a bit more showing up to make your security posture truly robust?
That's the key question to take away. Use these insights to look critically at your own practices.
And of course, we encourage you to delve deeper into ISO IEC 27703 itself and related standards if you want the full picture.
There's always more detail to explore.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive, this instruction session on Clause 7. We hope it's given you some clear, practical insights.
Thanks for listening.